It is Friday, March 28, 2025. It's about 6:18 p.m. Cameroon time. It is time for the news on Canal International. First things first, a summary of tonight's top stories. Welcoming you live as always from Douala. Here's Gladys Ambondibang.
Outrage is growing in Ezeka as the Cameroon Party for National Reconciliation, the PCRN, is hit with an unexpected ban on its planned activities. Set to take place from March 27 to 29, the protests have sparked accusations from the opposition party that the government is suppressing free expression and silencing dissent in prelude to the presidential election this year. Meanwhile, today, the people of Yemen in the southwest region marched to the governor's office in Boya, protesting the forced imposition of a traditional ruler by the SD of Mbangem, Mungambo Ekema William. Dressed in black and carrying placards, they declared their refusal to recognize William's Bisson as their chief. And tensions has continued rising in Apo in Edeya, where villagers have been protesting for 2 days against palm tree replanting, fearing environmental and livelihood impacts. Despite the presence of law enforcement, the community is demanding transparent dialogue and the protection of their land rights. Those were our headlines. Stay tuned for developments with Divine Tarike Jr.
Thanks once again for your company, and let's start out with this in politics, and that's because anger is brewing fast within the ranks of the Cameroon Party for National Reconciliation, abbreviated PCRN in French, following a ban on its planned activities by administrative authorities at Ezeka in the Senda region. The opposition party is now accusing the government of stifling free expression and silencing dissent. Here's Gladys Ambondibang.
Militants of the opposition Cameroon Party for National Reconciliation, the PCRN, are in outrage after the party's activities planned for Ezeka in the Center region from March 27 to 29 were banned by local authorities. The decision has sparked anger, with the party accusing the government of trying to silence opposition. The ban comes amid a division within the party's leadership, despite a court ruling in favor of the party leader, Cabra Libi. Richard Tamfo, a PCRN spokesperson, expressed strong disapproval of the ban, calling it a sign that the country is no longer functioning as a democracy. He said, "It is shameful that this is happening after over 4 decades of leadership and are now living under a dictatorship." The PCRN has long criticized the Ministry of Territorial Administration, claiming the government is fueling the internal conflict. The party also says the government's action are worsening political instability, with protests now blocked. The PCRN is calling for more political freedom and democratic reform in Cameroon. The big question now is whether the government would back down, or will this lead to a big battle for political rights.
Now, since the start of this week, we have been reporting extensively on a chieftaincy crisis that's been rocking Yemen, a locality in the southwest region, where natives are vehemently opposed to the imposition of a new traditional chief by local administrators. Well, earlier today, the crisis escalated as the angry villagers took their anger to the office of the governor of the southwest region in Boya. As you tell us, Ndi Maureen.
Tension remains high as the people of Miami today, March 28, stormed the governor's office in Boya, southwest region in a peaceful protest denouncing what they have termed forceful imposition of a traditional ruler by the senior divisional officer of Mbangem.
We are here today in our numbers to protest the decision of the senior DO of Mbangem division, who came and imposed the chief on us, who is not a native of our land.
The people, dressed in black attires, came bearing placards to make their voices heard. They have said they do not recognize William Bisong as chief.
His grandfather came from somewhere, the upper lands, and my grandfather, Tabimanga, employed him to work with him in his farm. If you have a servant who is loyal, that servant is loyal, and he dies, your father dies, the children of that servant cannot inherit the property of your father. That's where we are standing.
The chieftaincy crisis has been on for 2 years now, following the demise of the late Chief Eben Jacob.
From beginning, since in 1936, the first chief that was enthroned, is coming from the Jet family. So, and that is how it has been going in line. So presently now, when our last chief left, the same family stood behind. They still stood and bring out their other chief to rule the village. That was Hope Son and Ebai, coming from the same chieftaincy family. So where this other man is coming, we don't even know where he's coming from, because he's a total stranger.
The family that produces chiefs sit and choose one of theirs, present to the chief priest, whom we call Tiger Chief. And the Tiger Chief assemble the kingmakers, 4 from each family. They sit, they have what they give them, before they carry this man to the administration.
The crisis began following the death of late Chief Eben Jacob, which led the first consultative talks in Mbangem in 2023. During this meeting, the SDO appointed William Bisong as chief while disqualifying the legitimate kingmakers of the clan. The natives of Miami strongly objected, stating that in their history, no one from outside their native soil has ever been selected to lead them. They claimed the appointment was driven by monetary influence and are determined to have Sonebai as chief, who happened to be in mission in Nairobi at the time and had asked for a meeting to be postponed. Except for now, tension remains high and the people say they are determined to make their voices heard.
And for the past 2 days, tensions have been escalating in Apu, that's near Edea in the littoral region of Cameroon, as villagers protest the replanting of trees by the palm oil producing company Soca Palm. The community claims the plantations have for the past several years not only jeopardized their livelihoods but damaged their environments as well. Kejan Henry Atembe has more.
In Apu, a quiet village in the Edea 1 district, tensions are reaching a boiling point as the local community protests against the replanting of palm trees by the palm oil giant Soca Palm. The villagers are raising their voices against what they see as an infringement on their land and livelihoods, demanding that they be given back the vital space they rely on.
Nous demandons l'espace vital. Nous sommes en métoufflé. Que cette bande de verdure-là ne vous trompe pas.
With law enforcement on the ground, the company commander is working to de-escalate the situation. But the stakes are high. The heart of the issue lies in Soca Palm's refusal to hold its activities, despite clear instructions from the Minister of Land Tenure and State Property. Villagers are speaking out against what they call the unlawful taking of their land, calling for the restoration of their property rights.
Retourner là où on était, il y a encore les tombes de nos parents, là où même ce capable n'a même pas pu.
Amongst the loudest voices are the women living near Soca Palm's operations in Edea. They have already written to the President of the Republic, detailing the violence and abuse they have endured. Their message is clear. They need a safe space to cultivate their land and pursue economic activities vital to their survival. As the protests continue peacefully, the community is waiting for a response from the authorities. The situation remains tensed, but the villagers are demanding to be heard and to reclaim their land and future.
Now, if you live in Cameroon's commercial hub, Douala, then you must be aware of the fact that every time residents spot bulldozers in their neighborhoods, fears of demolition and potential eviction begin to spread. Now, it was the turn of the Bois de Saints and Quartier Bafia neighborhoods this morning when rumors spread of a possible eviction. People poured out of their homes to protest what they saw. Here's Cynthia Lati reporting.
Tension sparked earlier today as information about a supposed demolition spread widely, beginning in the Bois de Saints neighborhood of Douala. In the early hours, the inhabitants of Bafia quickly joined the effort to block any demolition machinery, motivated by long-standing grievances. There is a group proposing a project that threatens both the Bafia and Bois de Saints neighborhoods. Wealthy individuals are planning to construct resorts and hotels, but our parents work hard to obtain their lands, only to see others trying to forcibly take them away.
Mais aujourd'hui, ces personnes viennent avec ce genre de projet, ils disent qu'ils veulent arracher par force. Ils reviennent en 2018.
They came in 2018 and said they wanted to gain 7 meters land behind every home. From there, they aimed to seize entire areas. In December 2024, they came and marked our houses, telling us we'll be evicted, with a letter from the divisional officer discussing a work stoppage. They marked our homes for demolition instead. The inhabitants couldn't fathom losing everything and becoming homeless overnight. They called for relocation and compensation should the demolition proceed.
Si on veut nous enlever, moi je ne dis pas non, parce que c'est l'État. S'il décide, mais on doit nous monter là, on doit aller.
The tension was soon eased by the divisional officer for Douala 2, who spoke out against the spread of fake news. Is it enough for people to spread fake news for you to take over the streets? What if something had happened to someone this morning? We showed them several documents proving that we had taken legal steps to remain here. He promised that there will be a review. If demolition is deemed necessary, a proper plan will be put in place. Demolition exercises are recurring issues in the economic capital, which struggles with effective town planning.
And on our feature story page tonight, we zoom in on the sorry state of cemeteries across the country. These final resting places, which are intended and meant to be peaceful and serene, are most often in disrepair with broken fences and congestion, as well as general neglect. In Douala, residents are urging the authorities, the competent authorities, to take action to remedy the situation. Here's D. Maureen once again.
Here, the tombstones are lost in the thick bushes. The Dockham Cemetery in Douala is in a state of unsanitary neglect. Walking along this path requires caution, as a misstep could lead to stepping on discarded waste left by unknown individuals. For one resident, the time to act is now. At this moment, I will say it is better than what we saw in the past, because the new chief is making a lot of efforts to clear off the thick bush. At least twice a year, everyone needs a peaceful rest and a clean environment. Further along at the Dogsimbi Cemetery, part of the perimeter wall has collapsed due to the weather, and household waste has become a permanent feature, much to the dismay of the souls resting there, as stated by a student. I don't know what has pushed people to dump fuels at these graveyards. It started very small, but now it's growing by the day. While some cemeteries like those in Dedo, Newbell, and the one near Aqua Cathedral are relatively well maintained, the effort observed there is still much needed in other areas of the city. This cemetery before was a hideout for criminals. You could not identify it as a graveyard because it was in a complete bush. Now it is clean. People even come here and take pictures. These efforts are weighted across various districts of Douala to ensure that the departed can rest in peace and dignity.
We set this edition of the News in Motion with politics and the PCRN party. Let's engage a back pedal to the politics speech with this one just coming in. And that's because as the clock tick even faster to this year's presidential poll, more and more clergymen, and especially those of Roman Catholic fabric, are making their voices heard. In the latest move, bishops of Cameroon are urging their fellow compatriots to enroll massively on electoral registers and exercise their voting rights in the upcoming election in October. In a declaration rendered public in Yaoundé today, they urged citizens to vote according to their convictions, choosing wisely and with a focus on who can overhaul the country's current situation. Let's now listen to the Secretary General of the Episcopal Conference of Cameroon in this soundbite selected for us by Hyacinth Chia in Yaoundé.
Why should Cameroonians go out there to vote? And when you go to vote, with which conscience? What is the aim when you go to vote? So the bishops explain that every vote is very important because it is about, the development of our country. It's about a brighter economy in the country. It's about bringing peace in the country. So when you go out there to vote, you have to do it in conscience. There are so many candidates, but why focus on this candidate and not the other one? So according to the bishops, first of all, the morality of every candidate is to be scrutinized properly. You have to study the programs of each candidate. Is this person really there for the good of the country? The bishops ask two questions important. Do I love my country? Am I asking to be voted because I have love for my country? Or am I just going for personal interest? What am I proposing, for the betterment of my country, for the development of my country, for the well-being of the population? And then the bishops also mentioned other areas which are important, like the necessity.
And now this may sound unbelievable, but I bet you it is absolutely true, and that's because police in Yaoundé have arrested several inmates at the Kondengi prison for allegedly scamming aspirants preparing to sit for this year's police entrance examinations. The suspects, who carried out their acts by impersonating several high-profile personalities, were presented to the public earlier today in the presence of Hyacinth Chia. Here he reports.
He who is down, they say, fears no fall. 4 of the 6 culprits already sentenced and serving jail terms at the Kondengi and Tous prisons cannot stay away from criminal activities. They have allegedly scammed a good number of candidates in the ongoing police competitive examination process by impersonating top officials to request money for the completion of documents.
The personality, we have Dr. Bilunga, we have the Minister Oswald Babuke, we have Minister Ngala Bibehe, and the DCC Mr. Mbondayolo.
Faced with numerous complaints from the victims, the police launch an intensive search and the supposed criminals are rearrested from their prison cells and taken to the General Delegation for National Security.
After the investigation, we realized that the phone number belongs to somebody who has been detained in prison. Then we went to prison and we arrested four of them.
The transactions are said to be facilitated by this prison guard, who is also apprehended. This mobile telephone agent technically executing the fictitious deals, producing fake national identity cards of the impersonated authorities, using them to register the numerous SIM cards and extorting money from victims. The suspects await their fate as they remain behind bars.
And sincere thanks for the privilege of your company from the entire production crew. More news is packed up for you at 1950 with Michael Chipkyo. But before then, Matthew Fangwa will be here with the debrief. See you next week, inshallah.